Okay, this is a video for editing night photography. Pause now and load your image into Lightroom and then follow along. Okay, first start by expanding the basic panel and adjusting the white balance. This is the white balance here. And you can just adjust it to your liking. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we'll come back to this later. You can use the sliders or the presets to change the white balance. And again, we'll visit the white balance a little bit later again as we edit our image. Once you select your white balance, then we can move on to the next step. Just something like that for this shot maybe. You can adjust some of the tone controls now, and you can see them highlighted there. You can click the auto button and see what that does. It doesn't usually do such a good job, so you can always control Z to undo it, but recommend you set the highlights to -100 and the shadows to +100, and you adjust the whites and blacks until you get something you like. And don't worry that it messes up the colors because we'll fix that later. Just focus on getting nice tones and contrast and be careful not to overdo it. Okay, this looks good. Next we'll adjust the vibrance to mute the colors a little bit. There's controls, sliders for the vibrance, so just pull it down a bit. You have a bit of flexibility over what kind of look you can give it here. I'm just wanting to get rid of the strong yellows in this image, so I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. And you can also adjust the saturation until you like the results. So this looks good, and I'll probably just retweak the white balance now. There, so it's not so yellow. And this is just something you experiment with until you get a nice look. And I'll go with this for now. Okay, press the Y key to see the before and after. So you can see there's quite a difference. And next we're going to move on and we're going to adjust the clarity. We want to increase it, but not too much. I recommend never going over 40. Otherwise it gets a strange kind of gritty look. Okay, I'll go with about 40, and it's optional, but you can also adjust the curves, and you just want to get kind of an S shape in it, higher at the top in the middle, and a little lower at the bottom in the middle. You can play with this a bit. It's not necessary to do this step, just showing you so you can see it's there. And if you don't like the effect, you can just right click on it and flatten the curve, or Control Z to undo it. Next, we want to adjust the sharpness and the luminance. So you go to the detail panel. And what I do is I turn the luminance up to about 30 and the sharpness to about 70. Then I hold the Alt key down while I adjust the mask slider just so we can see the lines. We don't want all the white space in between, and this will just apply the sharpness to the edges, and it reduces the graininess in between. So that looks good. And next thing we want to do is go into the lens correction, and we just click both of the controls to remove chromatic aberration and to enable profile corrections, which just removes a bit of distortion and vignetting characteristics that the lens may apply. Okay. Next thing we want to do is remove some of these distractions in the image. And therefore to do that, we'll go into Photoshop, and you will just right click on the image and you'll select Edit in Adobe Photoshop CC 2019. The image will open in Photoshop. And once you're in Photoshop, press Ctrl J just to duplicate the layer, just so we have the original layer as a backup in case we mess things up and need to go back to it. Or you can right click on the current layer and just select duplicate layer right there. And that gives you a second layer that's going to pop up. And that's the one we're going to work on. Next, we want to select the spot healing brush on the left side, on the left panel. So look over there. If you right click, you can see spot healing brush is the one we want. You use the square brackets above the keyboard to change the size of your cursor, and then you just start painting on the object you want to remove, in this case the traffic light. And you might need to go over it a couple of times just to get it out of there. I think the image will look better without it. There you go. And you might have to zoom in and remove a few smaller things. If you hold the shift key down while you click, it'll remove things in straight lines. And just look around your image, see if there's anything else that's maybe a bit distracting. Maybe up by the lights there's a wire. It's kind of sticking out. Get rid of that. Photoshop does a pretty good job with the healing. I think that looks good. So this looks a lot better without the distraction. So we save the image now, and we'll go back into Lightroom. To save the image, you go up to the File menu in Photoshop, and you can just select Save. And it should automatically take you back to Lightroom. So it just takes a moment for it to save. So here we are back in Lightroom, and what we're going to do now is just crop that wall out of the picture on the right. So here's the before picture, and here's the after. And we want to use this crop tool. You click on it, and I'm just going to drag the frame over a bit to the left to get rid of that wall on the right, and click the Done button. So that looks a lot cleaner already. So we're almost done. I just want to do a final adjustment to the white balance and the contrast, because there's still a bit too much yellow in this image for me. So here's the controls for the white balance. And I'm just going to reduce it a bit. I think this looks pretty good about here. And I've increased my contrast a bit. And this is the before and after image. So you can see there's quite the difference. And I'm thinking this is the final image. And here it is full size. So I think it looks pretty good. And that was a pretty easy editing job. Thanks for watching.